If you're confused about someone's feelings, the problem is usually not that you don't understand them. It's that you're trying to find clarity in something that was never consistent in the first place. Listen carefully to this story taken from the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, written by author John Gray, where he explains a very common pattern that happens in relationships when emotional distance and closeness start to collide. A man named Max and a woman named Sarah. At the beginning of their relationship, everything felt extremely natural and almost effortless. Max was engaged, attentive, and emotionally available in a way that made Sarah feel seen, chosen, and appreciated without having to question anything. They talked consistently, they shared their daily lives, and there was a sense of emotional momentum that made everything feel like it was moving in the right direction without confusion. But as time passed and the emotional bond started to deepen, Max started to slowly withdraw. It was not that he disappeared completely, but rather his communication became less frequent. His emotional presence became more inconsistent. From Sarah's perspective, this change created confusion that she could not easily explain. She would find herself thinking things like, did I do something wrong? Did something change between us? Or is he simply losing interest without saying it directly? Sarah did what most people do in that situation. She tried to get closer. She started reaching out more often, asking more questions, trying to reestablish the same level of connection they once had, and looking for reassurance that nothing was wrong. But according to John Gray, this is where the pattern becomes very important to understand. Because instead of bringing Max closer, Sarah's increased emotional pursuit unintentionally triggered the opposite reaction. The more she tried to close the distance, the more he instinctively pulled back. The more she sought clarity, the more he needed space. John Gray explains this as what he calls the rubber band effect, where one partner, typically the man in his observation, may pull away after emotional closeness in order to regain a sense of independence or internal balance. But just like a rubber band, after pulling away, there is often a natural return once that distance has served its purpose. However, from Sarah's perspective, this did not feel like a natural cycle. It felt like emotional instability. It felt like inconsistency. Because every time she thought she was getting closer to understanding the situation, the behavior would change again. And this is where the deeper message of the story begins to form. John Gray is not saying that pulling away always means lack of love, nor is he saying that distance automatically means rejection. Instead, he is highlighting something more important, that emotional inconsistency creates psychological uncertainty, and uncertainty is what makes people overthink, overanalyze, and emotionally invest even more deeply in trying to fix what they cannot clearly understand. So instead of asking yourself over and over again what they feel, you might want to ask a different question. Is this connection giving me peace, or is it only giving me uncertainty? Because real connection does not live in confusion forever, and your mind deserves consistency, not constant guessing. If this message made sense to you, leave a like. And I want you to answer this in the comments. Do you think confusion in relationships is a normal phase, or is it always a sign of emotional imbalance? Also subscribe to Curious Max for more deep psychological breakdowns like this. See you in the next one.